Hey AfterBuzzers, thanks for joining us once again this week as we discuss The Path as it's airing on Hulu. This is Season 1, Episode 5, The Hall. Stick around, we'll have a great discussion coming up.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Good slow motion.
Yeah. Well, all of you should recognize this music, and hopefully you recognize our slow-mo hands as well. This comes from the end of the episode, but we will get there. I'm Zoe Hewitt. Susanna Kim could not be with us tonight. We're so sorry, but we've got a great guest host with us, Richie. So let's introduce ourselves and tell everyone where to find us.
I'm Miaira Jennings. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Miaira Jennings.
And I'm DJ Richie Sky filling in. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DJ Richie Sky.
And I'm Zoe Hewitt. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Zoe Said What. That's Zoe Said What. Now, first thoughts about the episode, I have to say, this was possibly my very favorite episode all season. I thought it was so good, so I can't wait to discuss. What did you guys think?
I agree. It was a really good one.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
So basically lots of agreement right
Yes.
now. Now, the show opened and closed with a trio of kisses. We had the triangle of Eddie, Sarah, and Cal. We had the kiss with Mary and Sean. And then, of course, we had Hawk and Ashley. So I thought that's a great way to start looking at the episode. So starting off with the triangle. We, of course, have Eddie, who is digging in the hole, and he has this vision of Sarah and Cal, who are kissing while he's down there, but then he later lies about it. He's sort of being interrogated by Cal, and he turns things around and asks Cal, hey, what did you see when you were in the hole? And it turns out that Cal says he's seen what most people see, and that's a life of nothingness, which is what he says most people see, that they don't matter. And then Eddie winds up lying about what he saw. He realizes, I don't want to give my power away. And he says that he actually saw something that came true later, which was when Cal was being rude to Sarah at their house. And Eddie responds now that also he understands because Cal is in a bureaucratic position. So he's sort of being a little bit snide there, I think, and they sort of needle each other somewhat covertly. And finally, at the end of the episode, going back to the kissing, we get Eddie and Sarah, who wind up having sex together at the end for what seems like the first time since Eddie's transgression. So that's the arc that we saw from kiss to kiss with that trio. What did you guys think?
I'm so waiting for the day that Cal and Sarah actually just get it on. Like,
It's coming, man.
I know it's coming, but I'm just like so ready to see it because the tension has been building up since day one.
I totally agree. I think I was ready for it to happen any moment until this episode because Cal was so mad at Sarah. So I'm like, okay, well, we're going to wait a little bit longer. But just starting with that scene where Eddie has that vision, I'm wondering, is the step for 7 R's, that digging, supposed to elicit like your biggest fears? Is that what it is? Are you supposed to face the visions of your fears?
That's what I think.
Okay.
I think it's
because I'm like, why is he
fear.
having this vision? I don't understand, but is it? I guess it brings
And
out
it's
your
interesting that was
fear.
his vision.
Yes. What he fears the most in life is Cal
Yeah.
taking Sarah. Absolutely.
He should.
Yeah, I agree. There's been this tension. I mean, they're definitely a triangle. They're not a twosome in this show at all. There's a triangle. And what did you guys make of the scene where Cal is sort of interrogating Eddie? Because it felt very like police station-ish, like a little bit creepy, of course, because every scene in this show is pretty much creepy.
It felt like a game of chess. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm moving here and you're going to move there, but then I'm going to move here. I'm going to see what you do. It was very, like, kind of political, if you think about it.
Yeah. I feel like Cal still tries to hint to Eddie that Sarah has a thing for him. And he,
Right, it's
and
almost
he knows
like,
it.
I'm going to take your wife. You know what I mean? We prayed together.
Yes,
That's the point. Yeah.
exactly. And they were both doing it, especially, right? How is it so weird that saying, like, we pray together is this big bonding experience?
Yep.
And how they prayed together, too. This was the first time we've seen them, like, raising their arms up together, holding hands.
But, like, wasn't she looking at him like he was a meal? Like, when he was praying. She was like,
I'm telling you, yeah, it's a matter of time.
It is a matter of time. And then we have Mary looking at them also as they pray, like feeling very jealous, clearly.
Man, she needs to. Okay, Sean's a good guy. What's wrong with Sean? Why won't she just give him a chance?
Mary is only there because of Cal. Like, we all know that. Think about it.
Yes.
Do you think she's really not a believer?
No.
I disagree. I think she's half and half. I think she's there because of Cal. I think she believes, but it's Cal that's the glue that's holding her together.
I feel like a lot of people are there because of Cal.
Yeah.
I do. I feel like a lot of the women particularly have crushes on him, and I feel like he almost uses that to his advantage.
Oh, that's interesting, because I saw Mary doing that, but I hadn't thought of it with the other women, because I think Sarah is there regardless. She's a true believer.
Oh, she's a super believer. She is like the head believer. You know what I mean?
Devout Miairist. Absolutely. But I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting when, or if Sarah ever realizes what Cal's really doing behind the scenes, and if her thoughts on him change, will it affect her thoughts on religion? Because she is so extremely devout. I just wonder if she's going to have doubts.
I almost don't think that she will.
You really don't? You think
because
it'll
she's
just be
even
all bad
questioned
Cal?
his decisions at times. You know what I'm saying? Even though with the whole when he went to the news and he had that whole discussion, it turned out to be okay in her eyes, but she still questioned, do you think you should do this? You know what I mean?
She's still questioning him. And we see that in this episode too, because with the Ridges, at the end of last episode, she went to the crack house and rescued Freddie with his mom. And then this episode, they are in Peru, where we find out for sure. We had a question on YouTube about where, and I'm blanking out, where the other guy in Peru was.
Cyrus.
Thank you. Wondering where,
right?
yes, you're right, where he was. And we get the answer for sure that he's in Peru because he's helping and administering the medicine. So in this episode too, Sarah goes completely against what Cal wants, and he gets very angry about it. So it's interesting too how their relationship is breaking down a little bit, that they're no longer true believers together, that they're more adversarial in this episode.
Do you think that he would have been as angry if he wasn't confronted by the husband?
No. Okay, so here's my take on why he was so mad. I think it's one of two things. One, the guy's a millionaire, right? Isn't he some kind of is he giving money to them or something? I mean, I
know that he said he didn't want the money initially, but
He wanted him to hang
So
the painting and the eye in a prominent
So
spot.
I think it's more about, I think what struck him was when Mr. Ridge said, oh, you can even control your people and all of that, because Cal's all about control. So I think that's what struck a nerve with Cal.
Yeah.
He needs to have control over everybody, even if it's Sarah. He doesn't care. You need to listen to me. Like, you're making me look bad.
Yeah, because otherwise you don't look like a leader.
Exactly.
And that's even what Mr. Ridge said. Do we know his first name? Because I didn't catch it either.
John.
Okay. That's what he said too, right? You can't control your cult. What's going on? And then, of course, at the end with Cal, we get this scene, whoo, like we were just doing during the opening.
I was kind of waiting for that to happen inside the house. So when it happened outside, I was completely shocked because it was silent pretty much. And all I saw was his face hitting the glass.
Yeah. And that blood dripping out. I mean, it was pretty gory as far as really like TV fight scenes go.
I loved it.
It was pretty good.
It was well done. What did you guys make of the bodyguard? We were talking about this a little bit before the show started, and we first see him coming in when they confront Cal, and he just sort of stands around, and he didn't look very bodyguard-like to me. I don't know. I wasn't intimidated.
I felt like he was security. Like,
Really?
that's what I got the sense that, because like I just didn't feel like John would get his hands dirty.
Oh, yeah.
But I felt like he would
That's
have
true.
someone behind him that would.
See,
I
I'm
started to get that impression.
Yeah, I just didn't notice him much at first. I just thought
I
he
noticed
was
him because
there.
I was like, why is he lurking?
Oh yeah, see, I don't know. I was oblivious to that. I was like, okay, this man's just standing there. That's fine.
And I absolutely thought he was security, but the casting to me, I don't know, he just didn't look big to me.
Yeah, because he wasn't like lumbering, but he was looking kind of menacing.
He was ready for some action.
Yeah, so I'm like, you just look at your surroundings, sir.
Okay, you know who he reminded me of? Like way back so the old Austin Powers movies, do you remember then the guy who was like the henchman? That's what he reminded me of. And I think that guy got killed early on in one of the movies, but that like he just sort of stands there.
That's hilarious.
And doesn't do much.
It is
That's what
interesting
reminds me
that
of.
he didn't look much like a bodyguard. Like, I wonder why that
It
was
was just an odd
Trying to stay
casting.
low key.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Like
Interesting.
this semi-menacing, right? So, and why do you think also then that Eddie was using his vision to get the upper hand? It was just part of this whole big chess game, this chess match, as you described it, Richie.
I don't know what's going on between them.
Yeah, I can't quite figure out his motive yet because I don't know where he's trying to go at this moment. And I don't even know if he knows where he's trying to go at this moment.
Me neither.
I think he's just kind of figuring everything out.
And keep in mind, Cal knows that Eddie was having doubts based on what Miranda told him. And Eddie still doesn't know that. So I'm wondering when that's going to come into play. Or is Cal just kind of waiting for a good moment to bring it up? Or is he, I mean, I really don't know where he's going to take that.
Yeah, and he's definitely, right, he's holding that information because information is power, right? And Cal is all about power, as we keep seeing in every episode. So moving on from that trio into the next set of kissing that we saw at the beginning of End, we saw Mary and Sean. And so Mary, of course, had decided she was going to start sleeping with Sean, or at least befriending him that way, based on Cal, who suggested, hey, I think he would be a good match. She had originally gone to him. So we see them in bed, and it leads to what appears to be their very first time having sex together. That's what it seems like. He's very nice and gentle with her, I think. And just, yeah, very nice. I feel like he's just like this nice guy that you just really want to like hug and bring home to mom.
Exactly.
You know what? Nobody likes the nice guy. I mean, as much as people want, like, they don't. I'm serious.
I think Mary's a poor example to be using for taste in men.
And Mira
You
gets
might be
that
right
one.
about that. You might be right about that.
So, of course, after Mary sleeps with Sean, she's really excited and goes to tell Cal, thinking that he'll be proud of her. And instead, he's in the midst of figuring out what happened to Freddie and tells her, like, go away, go away. And she starts to have doubts then and says she's going to leave until Sean tells her his story. And this is the first we've had of any background from him. And he tells us that the reason he is there is because in school one day, his sister and some of his friends were shot just for being black. And so he says that the world out there is very terrible and lots of lies and horrible people. And so he likes this more insulated world. So do you guys think, first of all, is Mary starting to like Sean aside from Cal's instructions to like him?
I think it's kind of like if you can't be with the one you love the one you're with.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I think. And as you guys stated before, he does seem like a nice guy who treats her well. And it doesn't seem like she's had a lot of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think she's had it at all. So it's almost maybe the type of relationship where because she's been abused in the past by every man who she has been, seen in an authoritative position, her father and Cal, that she doesn't even know what to do with the nice guy.
I think you hit it on the
Doesn't
head
it
right
seem
there.
like she also needs like a savior? Because I felt like she really started to click for Cal when he was beating up her father.
Yep.
That's when it seemed like she started to like look at him like a piece of meat, like, oh my God, he's saving my life right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like she has this sort of complex where she needs that almost father figure to a certain degree, like someone that's going to take care of her.
I
Sean
agree.
can take care of her. I mean, I think
But he doesn't have power.
He doesn't have power, okay, but he's a good guy. I'm Team Sean right now. I know it's probably not going to work out, but
I agree. I'm Team Sean too. But I agree. I don't think it's going to work out
you
at
know
all.
this is going to be destroyed.
poor Sean.
Well, here's a question. I mean, we all seem to think that Sean is not long for this relationship. But do you think he'll say he loves her anyway? So I think it will come out that she has been with Cal, or not really been. She's watched Cal.
That's
I guess
just
is
weird.
really-
That's just weird.
And so I do think that will happen, but do you think Sean will still want to be with her? And I tend to think yes. He's a nice guy, and he might just think she was being abused by Cal.
You know what's crazy is that he probably could save her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not that people can be, I hate to say that, but not that people should be saved, but I feel like he could love her enough to, make her feel like a whole person or just a
it's worthy of it.
To fill that hole that she has. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's possible. How do you guys think Sarah's going to react when she finds out what's been going on with Cal and Mary? I mean, she's got to find out.
I think someone has to catch them doing something, because there's really no other way to get other people involved in that situation.
I think Sarah's gonna say it. Like, not Sarah. I think that Mary's gonna say it.
She's gonna tell people.
You think Mary's gonna?
I think she's gonna say it to Sarah.
She seems like she would.
I feel like she's just kind of unhinged. You know what I mean? Like I feel like she's just gonna crack one day.
she does have that look. Yeah. She's haunted. I would say. She always looks very haunted when she's walking around and when she's like lurking, watching Cal.
Lurking is the best word.
And the big question then also with Sean and Mary is, are either of them true believers? Because now we've got Sean who says basically he just wants to get away from the world. It's not that he believes, he just doesn't want to be in the world. And we have Mary who is ready to leave just because Cal was out.
I totally think Sean's a believer, actually.
Really?
Because based on that scene a couple of episodes ago when they were speaking with the people in the park and trying to recruit more members, I just get a real genuine vibe from Sean. And I think even if he had to convince himself to believe somewhere along the line, that he really does right now. So that's just my take. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think it would take something bad to happen for him to not believe. Like, you know, something would have to be revealed about Cal, which could be any number of things at this point.
Long list.
Exactly. So I think he would have to see that in order for him to, like, just sort of break free from this whole thing.
Yeah, I think so too. And at the same time, though, while I think he's a believer, I also just feel like he's there for the ride. Like
he just kind of needs a place to...
He needs a place
escape.
to be, yeah.
I feel like that's a lot of them, though. Like, it seems like a lot of them have been through these trials or these major life challenges, and they've come to this place where they can sort of be insulated, you know what I'm saying, and not have to deal with the rest of the world because they found something to believe in.
Yeah.
But do you feel like Eddie and Cal, then, for instance, are there because of the insulation? Because they both came to it as well. I mean, Cal was 4, so he's been there long enough, but Eddie came as an adult. I don't feel like he's there just because he's insulated from the world. I mean, obviously he has a family now, but I don't feel like that's why he stayed.
I kind of almost feel like he wants to believe everything now because of the family.
Yeah. I agree. I think he's tried so hard, and he's so in love with Sarah. It's just ridiculous. In a good way.
Why? I don't know.
In a good way. I mean, she's creepy, but...
She is creepy. Like...
She's creepy, but why not?
It's so apparent that he loves her with everything in him, and I think he's trying so hard to believe.
Yeah. He's
just trying. I don't think he does, but I think he's trying to hold on because of his family.
I don't want to say she's creepy. I think that's a strong word, but she is kind of creepy. But I feel like she's exactly. She's very convicted.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And people who are very devout are unfortunately sometimes creepy.
Yes.
Well, yeah, because it's their life.
It's
their
byproduct.
whole being. Yeah, you know, it is the air that they breathe.
Yes, that's all they have.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's all that she has as well. And before we move on to the next set of kisses, we just also want to remind all of you, thank you so much for your comments on YouTube and on iTunes. We love it. We always try to respond as well. Thanks in particular to Christy Hughes. If I'm pronouncing anyone's name wrong, sorry about that. Lee Indiana, CC Chick, and Nelvin Geller. Thank you all for staying with us every week. So we're thrilled about it. And thanks for clicking those thumbs up. So hooray.
Yeah. Great conversations.
Now, thumbs up right on over to Hawk and Ashley. So I feel like this was Hawk's big episode. We've been waiting for something to happen. So Hawk, of course, at the end of the last episode, snuck out. He went to this party that Ashley invited him to. And it turns out that they fell asleep there. So he wakes up on a blanket with her and is like, oh my God, I've got to get out of here. He gets home. It turns out they had already realized he was gone. Everyone is absolutely horrified. he does wind up talking to Sarah and Eddie in private, which was something he had wanted. Everyone else wanted this big group discussion about his life. And there's a lot of reference to the IS people who are bringing the future. And that's another one of their special terms. And Hawk says that he basically apologizes and he'll offset, which is another one of their terms. And of course, Sarah wants to yank him from school immediately. She says, who cares about this while waiting until you're 16? You're out now. But we get a big swap-a-rooney because now Hawk says, nope, I'm not leaving. I want to stay. So Sarah winds up leaving in the middle of this discussion, and Eddie really owns up to his behavior. And even though they were false transgressions, he does say he doesn't want his son to make mistakes or decisions based on him, which I thought was very stand-up of him, really. And, Hawk explains that he just can't understand how Ashley's bad. And Eddie responds that she's an ignorant, and he says, ignorance either bring the future or they bring the light. So I'm guessing that ignorant is part of the IS, but we don't know what the S stands for still. And then finally we have Sarah talking to Hawk, and she tells this story about when she was pregnant with him at 6 weeks, the doctor couldn't find a heartbeat. So she went to Peru knowing that she had miscarried. She basically did drugs, and then it turns out that he came back to her, and so she says she doesn't want to lose him again. And we also get reference to a story about her sister who apparently went through this and left the faith for someone else. And finally we have Hawk saying that, oh no, I broke up with Ashley, but it turns out, he didn't. Yeah.
Lies.
So that was the arc where they started with a kiss and then they end with a kiss, and there was a lot that happened in between, including the breakup. What were your initial thoughts, Miaira?
Number one, Joy is so annoying. Joy is such a snitch. Why would she do that? It's bad enough this poor boy comes home to a house full of people staring at him, wondering where he's been. Like, oh gosh.
You just knew she was going to do that, though. Yeah. She just looked like she just wanted to.
Yes.
How annoying. That just really, that made me so mad, that moment. Find some business, Joy.
She did.
Well, yeah, clearly his business. Yeah. Oh. That was my first thought.
And if they weren't related, don't you almost get the impression
she's jealous?
Yes! That she would be interested. It's like she's snitching because of jealousy. Mm-hmm. I'm so glad I'm not the only one who thought that.
I get that so much.
Odd.
I get it so much that when you guys said back when I didn't even know that they were cousins, I couldn't believe it because I totally get jealous vibes from her. And maybe it's the fact that she's jealous that he's branching out and she's too scared, or maybe she really is just jealous. I don't know, but she's just annoying me right now.
She's human, though.
And
that's, you snitch?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying about the feelings, which probably
I just about the
that's
snitching.
what led to her.
She's human. She had to snitch.
No.
Well, and that's interesting because Eddie also says that about Hawk. He says, "Hey, like he's a teenager," and then of course Sarah insults him and says, "Like, well,
oh my gosh, yeah, that shows you how much the religion is taking over. Like she doesn't care about anything else. That's number one.
Oh my God, I just had a realization. I think she's just as crazy as Mary. In a different way.
In a different way, for
totally.
sure.
In a different way.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, do we think anyone on this show is not crazy? I almost go Eddie.
Eddie's
he's got doubts.
Rational.
Yeah, he seems like he's trying. I'd vote Eddie for most normal.
I would definitely vote
Me
Eddie.
too. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And what did you think of Ashley? Because I know in the past I've said I don't feel like she completely fits. I like the actress. I think the character itself is okay. But I just, for some reason, they don't mesh to me. I liked her maybe slightly more in this episode. Maybe because they had more going on.
Yeah, I think...
I mean, now that you mentioned that, they could have found somebody better. I'm sorry.
You know what? I think we're waiting for her role to grow.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah, I think it's so small, right? I mean, even though she really has a profound impact on Hawk, I just think we're waiting for her to matter more.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
I think that's it.
And for me, I also feel like trying to figure out, is she pulling him away, like, purposefully? Which it almost seems like, because when he broke up with her, she said, are you really going to let your religion dictate? Like, do you think that's a good religion if it says I'm bad?
Listen, I thought that she was trying to do that from the moment that she brought him home and they were offering him meat and he said, I don't eat meat.
Yeah.
You
Which
know,
was
nobody,
cruel.
you know, nobody, if you don't, if I invite you to my home and you told me that you don't eat meat, I'm not going to give you meat. Like, you know what I mean? So
and make fun of you until
exactly.
you do.
It's almost kind of like she's been doing that from the beginning.
That's true.
Yeah, you're right. And what do we think of this term IS? So I'm voting the I is ignorant. But what is S?
Ignorant.
Stupid?
Stupid. Standby.
Ignorant self. Oh, do you think ignorant self?
Oh, because
You're
you have your neo self and your ignorant self, and then your
Maybe.
Wait, did they say
self.
neo self? Or are you
Isn't
making
that
this up?
no? Isn't that what they call the place that you go when they put that contraption on their head?
That sounds vaguely familiar. We needed our Bible that
I
Susanna
know.
was talking about. We need that to keep track of all the terms. I bet that.
Yeah. So I don't
Okay.
know, but I just okay. I was waiting for Eddie to say that Hawk can stay in school. I want this to be a turning point for Eddie and his self-realization that he doesn't believe completely, because I don't want him to let Hawk go down this path of being so devout if he doesn't really believe it. I want him to let Hawk be a normal teenager and live his life and make his own decisions. So I'm really scared if he persuades him to continue with Miairism and he really doesn't believe it, and then something comes out or something changes where he can't continue and his son's kind of stuck. I don't know. It's very complicated.
I got the impression that he's torn between kind of disobeying Sarah and still trying to understand where Hawk is and trying to be a father and trying to, wrestle with the fact that Hawk is a teenager.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and he knows what that feels like.
Yeah.
We all know what that feels like. It seems like Sarah's the only person that seems to have
Yeah.
forgotten
No,
what
she
that
is.
feels like,
She
you know?
is.
Yeah. And I think that in this episode, even though Sarah and Eddie have had the division between them, and he's been trying, of course, I think, to come back together with her. I felt like in this episode he was putting that divider up. I didn't feel like he was going to force Hawk to drop out. Hawk said he didn't want to go, and I felt like Eddie was okay with that. He just wanted to be sure it wasn't because of his own behavior.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, I felt like Eddie is not on board now, and he never was either with the dropping out of school. It's only Sarah who suddenly had this 180.
Yeah. So is Tessa the sister she was talking about? Okay, I just have to say, as much as these people say it's not a cult, why you write off people who are your family because they don't believe the same things you believe anymore? I mean, that sounds pretty cult-like to me.
Well, did
Right?
they write her off, or did she leave because she didn't believe it? Was that clear?
I don't know.
She found someone else outside of the faith. That was definitely clear. And
Yeah.
she's no longer associated with them. But whose choice was it?
Okay, that's a good question then. I guess I didn't think
Because
of it
that
that
would
way.
make a difference then.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about it that way. Because I'm just wondering, if you choose, like, say you turn 16, Hawk turns 16, and he's like, okay, I want to stay in school. I don't really want to go down the path. I don't want to take my vows or whatever. Are they done with him? Or is he still allowed to, come in and out as he pleases, but not believe? I mean, I don't understand.
But 16 is still the youngest that he can start. So I feel like until the question of if they're basically excommunicating him even comes up, he
Yeah.
has at least till 18, till graduation. So I feel like 16 is just the earliest he can get.
Well,
in there.
even
Get
18,
on the
though,
ladder.
is that a part of it? If
Yeah,
you
that
don't
part I
believe,
don't
can
know.
you be... Yeah, I'm waiting for that answer then.
Yeah.
I feel like if you don't take the vows, you're out.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting too. That's what I'm getting from the way they talk. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they just mean, oh, they're not interested. They don't want a part of it.
Well, I don't think you have to take the vows to be there because, like, Mary and Sean haven't started climbing the ladder. They're not on the first rung. I can't remember what they called it, but they're on, like, the pre-rung, just getting information.
Yeah.
So
But
they're not...
But they're
I feel like they're not.
still like
Newbies,
yeah. But plus they're like on their way to believing, or they do believe somewhat. But I'm saying, if you say I don't believe, but I still want to be your son, like
Yeah, and it's kind of like, Hawk was born into it.
yeah.
So I wonder if the rules are different for him
Good
than
point.
it would be for, Mary,
right.
who just kind of entered. You know what I mean?
But I feel like people who just enter, like, you're just leeching off of us at that point if you
Right.
don't... Unless, I mean, do they do work? I mean, we've seen some gardening, so if she's working to,
Well, I remember
take care
that
of herself, then...
Sarah told her she had to complete about 500 hours of service
But I thought that was before...
before she could
Yeah,
even,
before, yeah.
and Sarah was like, okay, as she's staring gleefully at Cal.
But you mean Mary?
Yeah.
Oh,
Mary,
yeah. She's like,
Yeah.
she's like, oh my God, yes, I'll do it. It's like,
Yep.
So those are the three couples with the kissing, you know, the start to finish kissing. And then we had, of course, a couple of other storylines within there. We've talked a little bit already about Cal and the Ridge family. And of course, at the end of the last episode, as we said, Sarah went to rescue Freddie. Now, whoosh, Freddie's in Peru taking drugs. And of course, Cal winds up getting beaten up for not knowing basically what's going on in his cult. And exciting news also for all of you who watch us, yay, is that the actor who plays Freddie, Max, is going to be joining us actually next week in studio. So we'll get a lot of inside information. And he was actually just nominated for another Daytime Emmy. So hooray for that too.
Yay,
so yay,
Max.
Congratulations. And so we talked about it already a little bit. Any other thoughts on Peru or on Freddie with his head on his mom's lap?
Yeah,
like
man.
that?
We cannot gloss over this whole Sarah situation. So do we completely believe the whole miscarriage story?
No,
Okay.
I was thinking that the entire time.
I'm
like,
skeptical, Zoe.
I do not
I'm
believe
skeptical.
you.
Oh my God, I'm the only one who believes
You
her?
believed it?
I did not believe her for 1 second, and I was
I'm
waiting.
so
I was
skeptical.
hoping you were going to bring that up, because I was like, I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm like, girl, really? This is a real convenient story for you to have right now.
I'm sorry. I was very skeptical at that point.
Oh my God, I might be the true believer here. I mean, like, I know realistically in my head, logically, that can't happen, but I believed her. Oh my God.
You believed her version of the story?
How am I the only one?
Okay, here's the thing. I don't know if she would deliberately lie about it, but it just does not make sense.
Well, of course it doesn't make sense.
So how did it happen? I mean, I know miracles happen, but it's just how do you just okay, so your baby's dead.
Yeah.
You go to Peru, you do drugs, and the baby comes back to life.
When you put it that
Voila!
way.
It's a lie.
I'm like, okay, so obviously something is terribly wrong here.
I just feel like I don't believe it because for so many reasons. But I do feel like she's so convicted in her beliefs that she's willing to do whatever to keep her son.
Well, she might have just
Close.
made herself believe that, though, honestly. People make themselves believe stuff
Yes.
all the time, and you know it's true, right?
This
So-
is I can actually see that happening here.
So
Yeah.
your theory is that she wasn't lying knowingly.
Yeah,
it's
I
just
think-
that she's told herself this story so often that now she believes it.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's more, I feel like, okay.
Yeah, I don't think she's like.
I don't think that
she's on. I think that's something Cal would do. I think Cal would blatantly lie about a story to get somebody hooked. I don't think Sarah is that vindictive. I think Sarah truly either the drugs got to her or she was just so traumatized that she told herself this story. But there's some reason as to why she truly believes this. I don't think it really happened.
I think she just honestly, I'm trying to think about it in those terms, but a part of me is still like, she lied purposely because she did not, and I don't think it was, sometimes people lie and they don't think that they're lying for a bad reason.
That's true.
They think in their head, I need to do this so that this person will
Right.
not leave. That's what I think.
Maybe she was saying it like metaphorically, I guess, that it didn't, but I don't know.
Maybe.
Okay, the
It's
only,
hard for me to believe anything in that vision. Like,
you know what stood out to me? Like, if we're going down the path that she was lying purposely, this could have been there on purpose, because I actually thought this was a weird writing glitch. So tell me what you guys think. So when she tells the story, she says she was 6 weeks pregnant, and that's when she finds out that the baby
6 months.
Is it okay? There's
Right?
the question. See, I listened twice. I rewound the 10
Okay,
seconds.
so I was wrong.
And I thought it. Well, so maybe I misheard. Then that's the question, because so she says 6 weeks is what I thought when I rewound and I heard it twice.
Okay,
but
then
maybe I didn't hear it.
I'm
right.
just I thought I heard 6 months, but I didn't rewind it, so I have no idea.
Which would make more sense, because then she says, I went to Peru because I still had to miscarry. And that part didn't make sense, because if you're only 6 weeks, there's nothing to come out. By 6 months, there would be a baby to come out.
Yeah.
So 6 months makes more sense, but that's what I was wondering, is it a writing glitch? Because I heard 6 weeks. In which
Okay.
case, if she's lying, maybe she tripped herself up.
That's interesting. I'm gonna go back and listen.
I know.
I feel like I need to go back and watch it again now.
Yeah.
I feel like we need a resolution now, but it's not going to happen without
Watch her
watching it
tell that
again.
lie.
That's crazy. Those drugs, man. That's all I can say.
It's so funny that they take him there to get him off drugs, only to put him back on more drugs.
Which I guess maybe are not addictive drugs. Maybe they are.
Yeah, I don't
or
think.
not.
I mean, I don't.
But
think
a
they're
lot of them
addictive.
keep going back to Peru. So I don't. It's
That's
hard
another
to say.
thing there, the trafficking.
The
situation.
trafficking, right. And so there is the other storyline. We got a little bit more of Detective Abe in this episode. And he did talk to Allison, so we saw her very briefly. We got more details about her husband's death, that he jumped off a mountain, which of course Allison says, no go, didn't really happen. He was killed. But Detective Abe looks into it more, and he looks at credit card statements and sees lots of trips to Peru. And so he says trafficking, which I think we can all take safely to assume to mean drug trafficking. And then at the same time, we had gotten a little glimpse of this, that he thought something was wrong with his daughter, Lucy, and it turns out that she has patent ductus arteriosus, which is basically that vessels haven't closed properly. And so she's going to need open heart surgery. And interestingly, when he's looking at the credit card statements, the other officer who's doing the computer work keeps insisting, like, go talk to my priest. And he also goes to Eddie and says he wants to convert. And Eddie basically says, no, it's not going to help anything, which I thought was fascinating. Like, was this a specific tactic for Eddie to make him want it even more? What did you guys think?
I kind of felt like Eddie was really just being real. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to save your daughter. Like, you need to do something else.
And I think Eddie's probably the only one there who would be that honest.
Yeah.
I think everyone else, Cal, Sarah, they would all say, oh, yeah, we can save her. Like, bring her here.
Take her to Peru.
The light and all this stuff. Yeah, seriously. Yeah. So I respect Eddie so much for his honesty. And on another note, I really think Agent Abe is
Detective
going.
Abe. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Agent.
I keep thinking Honest Abe. So
yeah, I don't know if he's really seeking help through Miairism. Some part of me thinks that he's going to resort to believing that or something. He's obviously feeling trouble from the situation with his daughter. And I wonder if he's looking for some sort of an escape, because he did, even though he's using a different name, he's telling the true story when he's talking to Eddie and looking for help. So, I mean, this could be a way for him to cope.
I was wondering too, because I can't get an accurate read on if I believe that he was saying he wanted to get on the ladder just because he wants to infiltrate so he can take them down, or if it's because he's starting to really believe, and I can't decide.
I thought it was that he wanted to take them down, so he was using that as his way in, but I feel almost like because of he has a slightly obsessive nature, if you kind of like watch, you know, so I feel like he's gonna actually kind of fall into that.
That would be, I think that would really shake up the story, and I feel like they're going in that direction. But I think Mary's dad and him wanting to get, you know, justice for all of that might take precedence right now. But for sure later on, I think he'll start, especially since Eddie is so convincing and he's so honest, he's not BSing him like the other people are. So he might really take this into account.
And your comment, too, about Mary's dad is interesting because, of course, we had Mary's dad come into the station, too, or the FBI headquarters, I guess, and say what's going on. And he put him off a lot and said, you know, we'll let you know, which I read as he wants to take Mary's dad down more than anything.
I read that, too.
That's the way it kind of came across on the screen, but...
Because he was like, trust me, we have much more information than we did, you know, before, which means he knows what happened to Mary.
Right.
Mary's dad is visibly creepy as well.
Ugh, he is one disturbing man.
But do you think that Mary's dad was visibly creepy to Detective Abe before he found out the other information? Because I don't think so.
Nope.
I think he's only creepy because we know what he did.
Yeah.
And because his last name. Mr.
I mean,
Cox.
when Detective Abe first spoke to him, he was bloodied in the hospital.
Right.
So, I mean, there's really not much to go off of at that point.
I don't know. I still smell the creep, but maybe that's because I knew, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just knew it already, so...
But we saw him before the hospital.
Exactly.
Detective Abe
So
only saw him in the
I
hospital.
was already, you know...
Yeah, primed for creep.
Exactly.
So do you guys have anything else specifically about this episode to discuss, or should we offer up some predictions?
I just wanted to say that I wonder in my head when Hawk flipped. Like when he said, okay, after his mom told him that story, because he looked like, oh, well, you know, I'm back, you know. And then the next thing you know, he's hopping on the back of the truck. So
Well, he broke up with her in between.
Yeah, but like, when
what changed his mind?
did he change his mind?
I think Joy snitching made him mad, and he wanted to rebel even more. that's just me. Okay, I'm just thinking back to my teenage years, right? And if I have all these people trying to tell me not to do something and to not hang out with somebody I know is not a bad person. They're not a bad person. Just because they're not exactly like me or they don't believe the same things I believe doesn't make them a bad person. So I think he's starting to realize that ISs can be good people and I still want to hang out with her. So go Hawk.
Maybe it is the teenage rebellion. I feel like maybe I'm just hoping that we're going to get a flashback in the next episode to show us that. Because you're right, there was a big turning point. He was like, I'm going to offset and plant trees. And then suddenly, hey, honey.
Right. It was like, how did you even get out of the house again? Like,
I think he never had any intentions of not seeing her anymore.
But wait,
honestly.
when he broke up with her?
Even
You think that was fake?
No. Okay, at that point, I think he was scared. I mean, they had just confronted him about all of this.
Right.
You know, so the initial shock is like, oh, I can't talk to you anymore. I can't talk to you anymore. But I mean, he's a teenage boy, and this girl, he likes her, and she's really not a bad person. And he talked to his dad, you know, who said she's not necessarily a bad person, but whatever he said. So I just think he's making his own decisions right now. And until Joy decides to pull up and snitch again, he's going to continue to see her.
You are hating Joy.
Joy, I'm sorry. Joy is on my bad list right now because that was just annoying.
I feel bad for Joy. I feel like she exists just to snitch. She doesn't have any other purpose on the
really
show.
does.
And I don't think that it's coming either. I don't feel like we're going to get more from her. I think like that is her sole purpose.
No, yeah, there's more snitching coming.
More to come.
Stay tuned for more snitching.
Poor Joy.
So other than our predictions that Joy will be snitching, Richie, do you have any predictions? What's coming up?
Predictions.
Your
I-
AfterBuzz
I'm
TV
a lot.
predictions.
I think that Mary is going to definitely blab to Sarah about her, you know, incidents with Cal. I think that's coming. I think that's going to blow up in his face.
No pun intended.
Oh, literally. Oh, my God.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not sure she'll snitch to Sarah. And if she does, I don't think it's because she knows what she's doing. Like, I don't think she realizes there was something between Sarah and Cal.
I think she
in that
knows
way.
I
after
think
that
she
last
knows
scene.
after she was
Okay,
lurking
so
in
you
the
know how-
shadows.
So this is what I get from Mary. You know, there's like this girl who's talking to this guy that maybe this other girl likes. And so she's like, oh, well, you know, I hooked up with him last week. Like that kind of thing.
Exactly.
I think that's what's going to happen. Mary's unstable.
Mary's unstable, but I don't know.
I think so, but we could
Maybe.
be wrong.
Okay,
Who knows?
maybe. Yeah.
Miaira,
Miaira, what do you think? Yeah.
I would like to see maybe Detective Abe struggle with his belief a little bit more because I think that will really complicate the plot if he actually thinks some of this stuff could help him in his situation with his daughter. What else? More tension between Eddie and Cal. I'm just waiting for the time when Cal decides to pull out the information and hold it over Eddie's head because that's really going to make a big difference. I think that's it. Hawk, keep seeing Ashley. Enjoy, keep your mouth shut.
And I think that in addition, the Detective Abe, is going to find some other information about Allison's husband because there's too much going on with was it a suicide, was it not, was it not, and if it's not, then really she's just paranoid, in which case she doesn't need to exist. So I think for her to exist, there will be some information that comes out that it wasn't a suicide, it was a murder, which I think anyway we're pretty much all in agreement with that we think it happened. But I think that in the show's life and universe, it will happen that way as well.
And can Sarah and Cal finally just get it on? I'm just like, please,
it's coming.
let's just get it over with.
You want her to transgress from Eddie?
Oh, she's going to.
Oh my gosh, that'll break his heart.
It
But
would.
she's so
Eddie.
going to do it, though.
It would totally break his heart.
It's always the accuser that's the one that's guilty.
Oh, I know. Big words from the end of the table. Well, let everyone know where they can find you until next time.
You can find me at DJ Richie Sky on Instagram and Twitter.
And you can find me at Miaira Jennings on Twitter and Instagram.
I'm Zoe Hewitt. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Zoe Said What. That's Zoe Said What. You can also find me on YouTube at Zoe Hewitt Hosting, where I do a weekly movie analysis show. And until next time, thanks so much for joining us this week on Hulu's The Path. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.